Hello, Roaring Rapids, and welcome to my third, yeah, third and final Journey Project vlog. I'm Rashawn McKenzie, and we are going to talk about personal, peer, and group leadership. This one's cool because we get to talk about everything that we've learned from the beginning of the semester all the way up till now. Tomorrow is the first day of training camp, and May 19th is where I first get started with working. I can't wait to see y'all, and let's talk about leadership. So the first one we're going to talk about is personal leadership. Now, personal leadership is kind of how you lead yourself in day-to-day life. It's, as Google said, the leadership from within, inside out, into out. And so how I would define personal leadership is how I motivate myself to do things, whether it be career goals, academic goals, social goals. Personal leadership is how I get it's kind of like following your ambitions and how you drive yourself and motivate yourself. And I think that starts off with like having a vision first and then using your skills to help you reach and accomplish those goals. Then we go into peer leadership, and peer leadership is leadership that involves other people around. I like to, for example, use servant leadership. It is kind of using the people around and leading with the intent of serving the people that you're helping, that you're leading. And so peer leadership is kind of working together with people for the common goal, which is kind of like going back into the personal leadership. A lot of my leadership definitions do use the word goals in it because I think as a leader that you have a goal that you're trying to reach, and so you're kind of leading the way to that. And then the last one is group leadership. Group leadership is how I define as an entire group working together for one common goal. And I've been in a lot of organizations on campus where our goal is to serve the student body or to put on a great show for the student body or even to raise money and raise awareness for different causes. And so I think group leadership is first building a group that does have that common goal, and then going out and working together with all your strengths and weaknesses to reach that common goal. So my personal leadership philosophy is when there is an action to be made, we act in the mind of the pact. And I use we because I like using that group leadership mentality where I like working with other people. And I think that when we all get together and share our common ideas, that's when we are able to get things done. And so when I say in the mind of the pack, I'm talking about we're all coming to a consensus, which is one of those great words I learned during this experience, and going with what the majority thinks is right. But with that, you're getting everyone's opinions on how they feel about the topic. And then with that, you could keep each other accountable for your actions. And I think throughout this orientation leader process and with the other 41 orientation leaders with me that went through this process, we did a good job with keeping each other accountable and building a community where if something's not right, we teach each other and not just kind of yell or not say anything and talk behind each other's backs. We try to make each other better, which is one of the most rewarding things I've gotten from this experience so far. And honestly, it just shows how courageous and great this team is. And so when incorporating the tenets into this, I think I would say diversity is one which is something I don't like to use a lot because I think diversity always gets thrown into a lot of places. It doesn't necessarily need to be thrown. Diversity is needed everywhere, don't get me wrong, but people use it very loosely. But when I think of diversity in regards to this, I think of how our team is made up of so many different people from not only like different walks of life, different backgrounds, different orientation, different races kind of all like mixing into a melting pot. And that's kind of how I see FSU, as a melting pot of people with different ideas and different everything that you could think of coming together to obviously graduate, but to make a system, a place that could be considered a home for each individual student. I also think that with that, we have excellence, because when I think of everyone coming together and aiming, going towards that common goal, you are striving for excellence, and the area and the team is striving for excellence. This also takes respect, which is another one. And that's because, again, when you're working with a large group of people, you kind of have to respect each other, and listening to everyone's ideas and showing that that you're there for them, and that you are making conscious decisions based off of what they have told you, shows that you do show respect for them. And so, since I've gotten to the Seminole Creed, let's go into the tenet that resonates with me the most. So before I go into which tenet of the Seminole Creed resonates the most with me, I first wanted to say what the 8 of them are. So number 1 is truthfulness, 2, respect, 3, excellence, 4, freedom of speech and inquiry, 5, diversity, 6, justice, 7, citizenship, and 8, discovery. So if you know me, you probably could easily guess which one I would choose. And so the answer with that is, drumroll, discovery. So FSU defines discovery as, I will take time for adventure, discovery, fun, excitement, and friendship. The reason I always choose this one is because when it comes to discovery, when I first started at FSU, I wasn't really involved in anything. I was the type of person that would go to class, go home, eat, sleep, do homework, and that's just about it. That was honestly probably one of my worst semesters, 2 semesters here, and that's because I didn't take the chance of getting involved. And my biggest advice will forever be, get involved on campus, because that's honestly where you find your home here at FSU. It wasn't until I joined Homecoming that I started to know about Dance Marathon, that I started to know about other organizations that I'm in, and which led me here as an orientation leader candidate and about to start the summer tomorrow. So when we talk about discovery, we talk about friendships and adventuring and just trying different things. And that's why that one's the one that holds so close to me, because this experience would have been completely different for me if I didn't take the chance and get involved on campus. And so where it goes to foreign affairs and government policies, when it comes to discovery, our ability to be able to even trade and find out what other customs have, and just communicating and having, like, internal affairs is just a big discovery aspect of interacting with the world. And that's where I see that in the whole big picture. At other institutions and even in our institution, I think the biggest way we use discovery is through our athletics. I'm not someone that's personally into athletics that much, but when I did come to the school, I really did become a big I want us to win fan, even though I don't have a single competitive bone in my body. But us interacting with other schools via sports, competitions, even us going to SRO, which I, again, will talk about later, and just learning from other schools and learning from ourselves and making those connections with other people. So that's definitely where I see discovery when it comes to us and other institutions. And then when it comes to other leadership practices, one of the first things we did when we became orientation leader candidates is read the book Fish, which is a really cool book. And if you haven't read it, read it, FISH, exclamation point. And in that book, they have a philosophy, and part of their philosophy, there is make their day, be present, play, and choose your tude. And out of those four, I think play obviously matches the best with discovery, because when you are in play isn't just like go out and have fun. Play is find something that you enjoy in what you do. This, for example, in the book, this woman had a job and she was trying to get the enjoyment out of it, and play is basically saying to find the enjoyment. And with discovery, it kind of relates to find the enjoyment out of FSU, find the enjoyment out of any college you do attend, or anything you do. Find that enjoyment, because that's what's going to keep you there and keep you happy and enjoying what you're doing. And then when it goes to leadership philosophy of a significant historical figure, I think literally anyone who could be considered an explorer is 100% follows this discovery policy to see things that are out there. Honestly, scientists too. They're anyone that's out there researching and just wanting to learn more. I think that's where discovery comes out. You're interacting with the world. You're seeing where other people are and how anything could be improved. How you could teach yourself about how you could improve. And discovery is just that interaction with all these different variables. And for a leadership philosophy, I think that's what one of the things that makes discovery really strong is the interaction aspect and learning from others, and again enjoying what you're doing while you're doing it. So that is it on the tenets, the Seminole Creed, and the philosophy. But now let's go into our SRO experience. So, SRO stands for the Southern Regional Orientation Workshop, which this year was held at Coastal Carolina University in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It was a really cool, fun 8 to 10 hour drive there. We left at 11 p.m. and we got to hang out with each other, bond, while we're also preparing for the workshop. The workshop is kind of similar to most conferences where they have a bunch of different workshops and sessions that you could attend, and kind of similar to how MLS was, but I want to say on a bigger scale and more designated for orientation leaders. The experience was really cool. I got to meet a lot of people who were from other states. I learned a lot about orientation. I learned a lot about other people's orientations. For example, at FSU, we do get the privilege of getting paid for being an orientation leader, but at other institutions, they do not. Some institutions don't even call it an orientation leader. So it was really cool to learn that kind of stuff from other people. I did make friends. I have a lot of new Snapchat, Instagram friends. Really exciting. I think Louisiana State was one of those that I ended up having a few conversations with. And we also got to bond a lot with people who are also from Tallahassee. If you do as you may or may not know, Tallahassee has 3 colleges in it. It's Florida State University, then there's FAMU, which is Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. My bad. Florida Agricultural and Memorial University. And then there's Tallahassee Community College. And so we got to bond a lot with the FAMU orientation leaders, which was cool. They were very excited. They were very peppy. I think they won most pep, which we weren't surprised by at all. Their energy was amazing. So out of there, it started with, we walked in to this huge, I want to say, it wasn't an auditorium, but it was the basketball stadium, court. There we go, basketball court. And so there were everyone out there doing their dances that we all learned, and we were learning from other schools. We were being loud. We were cheering on the state of Florida, and we were also cheering on our own school. We had our FSU flag, which was really cool, and everyone else had their own flags. And we did a lot of cool chants like, "Our side's crunker than your side." Still don't necessarily know what that means, but it doesn't matter. It was really fun. Um, when it came to team dynamics, we learned a lot about ourselves. I went into a few sessions where I was able to learn more about how to work in a team setting, and I'll talk about that a little later, especially over the summer. So at the beginning, before we even got to Shro, we had Shro practice, which is was starting the very first day of the semester, Monday at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Monday and Friday. And then I think as soon as February started, it went from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And within Shro practice, we learned we first created our dances and learned them. We also learned about our different chants and kind of anything to do with Shro. We updated ourselves on different committees. I was luckily in the song and dance committee, which was really fun. I had my own separate meetings with them on Saturdays and Fridays. They kind of alternated, and they were like 2 hour long meetings, but they were really fun because we got to, after we came up with what theme we wanted to go over for Shro, which the general theme was Tacky Taurus, and so we decided to go for like a Shrofari themed or a safari themed, because we're obviously from Florida and we thought it would be a little bit too basic for us, or like too on the nose if we did something beach themed. And so that was really cool. And so we put our ideas together and made this cool, really nice dance. If you want to find it, I'm pretty sure it's on the New Student and Family Programs Facebook page. It was recorded live. We sadly didn't win, but we did have a lot of fun doing it, and we are very proud of ourselves, and I'm very proud of my team for learning all of that, because not everyone is a great dancer, and even if you're a great dancer, not everyone enjoyed wanted to do every single aspect of it, but everyone put in their work and worked as hard as they can, and that's something that we could all be proud of. And then when it came into our team dynamics, I'm a part of the Jurassic Park team, which I love. We divided our team into 4 different smaller groups, so that, and we have a TL with them, which is a team leader. And a team leader is someone who has done orientation here before. At FSU, you only get the chance of being an orientation leader once, and then out of the orientation leader team, 4 get selected to be a team leader for the next year. And so my team leader I love her to death. She's become our mom in every sense of the term. She cares for us, and we supported each other so much throughout this entire process. We had meetings every other week. During Shro, we had several reflections, and she made sure that we were doing okay. I kind of had like a stomach flu or something. I don't remember what exactly it was. This was back in March, but like during then, she was making sure I was okay, because I couldn't be as hyped and pepped as I would have wanted to be. I also was going off of very limited sleep, because I found out I can't necessarily sleep on buses, and when you're leaving at 11 p.m. to go somewhere that is 8 to 10 hours away, you need to sleep. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 of the sessions that I went to at Thoreau. The very first one I went to was Baywatch Orientation Edition, and that one basically just talked about all the obstacles that may occur during orientation and how to deal with it. For example, one of them was signs of anxieties, whether it be through an OL or students, and the signs that come with that. So for example, for fellow OLs, they're maybe thinking too much, they're nervous, or they have like trouble communicating, and kind of similar for the students as well. And then they said like how to help them would be make them feel safe and secure, don't overwhelm them, and take things slow. And so we went over a bunch of different things with that. Another one that we went over was depression, and that would be like if people aren't as engaged, whether it be a student or a fellow OL or even a family member, whether they have like no interest in what's going on at all, don't just assume that people are just not interested in what you're saying. There might be a reason why they're not interested. Maybe they're not connecting because they are going through some things right now, and that's perfectly fine. And so that was a cool thing that we learned about. We went through a bunch of other things that were kind of similar, but that was kind of just like this summation of what happened at the Baywatch one. And then this one was one that I was really excited for. It was a day in the office. How would Michael Scott handle orientation team conflict? So this one was a one that was really interested in going in because one, I love The Office, love that show. I'm an ENFP, so I'm the same as Michael Scott would be, and so me and one of my fellow orientation leader Kai got to act in two of the skits that they had. I can't even necessarily remember what the skit was, but I know me as the acting king killed it. I think I had to be a little sassy in it, which kind of works for me, I guess. But the main thing that we learned from that one is that it's okay to have conflict within the team, and there's an appropriate amount of conflict that's okay. Obviously, having no conflict at all, we discussed, was not good because then you're kind of just walking all over everyone. Everyone's too buddy, and like the job doesn't necessarily get done. And then obviously on the other end of the spectrum is if there's too much conflict, then also nothing's getting done because everyone hates each other and is fighting all the time. And so you want to have like an appropriate in the middle ground amount of conflict where different ideas are getting expressed and everything's working with. You don't have to be friends with every single person you work with. You don't have to be friends with every single person you get paired in a group with, but you need to be able to work and do your job and get the job done. And so that was the thing that I learned about that one. It was probably one of my favorite ones out of there, and I think I became friends with some of the proctors, the people, some of the teachers, the orientation leader I can't remember the term, that were teaching it. And then the last one I want to talk about was the Bachelor in Paradise one, which I'm just going to make sure I'm saying the name of it. Yes, Bachelor in Paradise, how to ensure your school gets the final rose. So in that one, we were talking about different situations that happened during orientation as well and how to deal with it. And the fun thing about that one is that if you rose your hand and got the answer right, then you got a rose, just like the Bachelor. And so I want to say that engaged people. That was the most engaged I've seen people in a session, just because everyone wanted a rose. Even though it was kind of similar to the first one, where there was normal problems that would happen during orientation, and then how it could be solved. So I didn't really learn too much different from that one than from the Baywatch one, but it was still a really fun one to go to. I went to another one. I don't have the notes for it because it wasn't really a note taking one, but the last one I went to was going over the scenarios that might happen, kind of like a case study one, and then forming in groups and then coming up with proper solutions to reach the end game. And I think my case study was about a woman who found out that pre-med is not an exact major, and that she felt like everyone in her orientation group already knew that, and that she was alone, and that she was already far behind because she really wanted to be a doctor, and basically asked us how we'd go through dealing with that. Me as a group talked about guiding her without giving her actual advice, especially since we're orientation leaders. We're there to help them, but we also don't know the answers to all of those questions. And we don't want to say, I don't want to say, hey, yeah, no, just, it's easy. Just pick another major. You could go biology and then go pre-med, because I don't necessarily know the answer. That's kind of what I would assume, but I don't want to assume when it's coming to someone's future. I'm not an advisor, and that's what the advisors are there for. So one of the things we said is let's go bring her to the advisor. We'll talk to them together. Another thing we would say is like don't ever feel like that you're not the only one that doesn't understand something during orientation. The reason why orientation is there is so you could learn about things, and in case of things like this happening. So don't be afraid if you feel behind during orientation, because it is a learning process. Whether that's a part of it that you don't know, someone else, yeah, maybe the whole room knew that, but there's probably another part of orientation that someone else didn't know, or like most of the room knew that you knew. So it's kind of the way our group phrased it was kind of making sure we're not making any assumptions in general, whether it's us or the student, and making sure that we are providing them with the proper assistance that they need to go through their entire college career experience. So right before we get into the fun interview, I know I talked about my Stripe Squad, which is Jurassic Park, but I want to go more in depth about it. My team leader, Maria, has been a very essential part of helping me grow throughout this process. She's always there for me. She supported me when I felt like maybe there wasn't a place for me on this team. She supported me when I thought that, honestly, I'm not cut out to be an orientation leader. And she, every step of the way, she's made sure that I've been where I need to be in terms of getting assignments done, making sure that I am bonding with the team, making sure that I am making those connections that I should be making. She is my rock, and I think I could say that she's been the rock for everyone else on my team. I got lucky to get paired with a team that is a combination of a bunch of different personalities. We're an 11-person team. Half of our team, I want to say 1/3 of our team, is like really loud and outgoing, and then you have another third of our team which is really quiet and is more of introverts, and then you kind of have like the middle point, which I would say I land more around the middle to loud aspect depending on the day. But we all work together really well, and we've gotten this understanding of each other where I love this team. I love these people that are in my Stripe Squad. I wouldn't change a single person. We all get along together so well. Throughout this experience, we've all been vulnerable. We got to see really shallow side, not shallow, but very, I want to say, we've got to see our low points, and through that we've been there to check up on each other, keep each other accountable. But I want to say, first things first, we always made sure that as a person that we're okay. And that's, you don't get a lot of support systems like that from just doing anything. And I want to say this whole experience, especially in my Stripe Squad, has contributed to my leadership development by helping me communicate better, from how I feel to making sure that I know how other people are feeling. I think the growth from having 10 other people who are dependent on you and you're dependent on them really showed us how to work better as a team and work better with the other personalities on our team. And I cannot thank them enough. But now that we're done getting sappy and emotional, let's get into our interview. So I got the chance to interview one of my friends on campus who has had a leadership position, has had several leadership positions, and I kind of wanted to do an interview, but for me, interviews are just kind of like, why watch me just keep on talking to you when I could rip off the Vogue's 70 Questions interview? So here's Nick Koenig with 10 Questions with Rashawn.
Welcome to 10 Questions with Rashawn. Let's go on in. Wait, where is he? Nick. Oh, there you are. Nick, wake up.
Oh,
I was supposed to interview you today.
Oh, yeah, I totally remember. What's up?
Can you tell us your name and what positions you've held on campus?
I'm Nicholas Koenig. I'm a communications major. I totally forgot about this interview. I have been in dance marathon for 2 years. I have been in a professional honor fraternity for 2 years, and I've been the vice president on the judicial board for that, the alternate national delegate for that. Yeah, so I've done all that kind of stuff, you know, all these kind of things, you know, just dancing around, you know, just making sure we're doing great things, you know, in the colleges and the schools and whatnot, you know. So yeah, I'm doing that kind of stuff, you know.
Describe involvement in FSU in one word.
Opportunities.
What have you learned the most from being a leader on campus?
Honestly, opportunities and like taking all the opportunities that you can and are available to you, so you make the most out of your time.
Great. If you could offer any leadership advice, what would it be?
Don't miss any opportunities and use the most of your time. Make sure you're doing everything you can with all your time, just to make sure, you know, you're doing the most.
What is your main goals as a leader on campus?
My main goal is to make sure everybody has a great time and does everything that they can do and not miss those opportunities, you know.
What is the capital of Missouri?
Kansas City.
I don't know. As a leader, how do you motivate your team?
I motivate them by showing that life is short, showing people that life is short, and that everything should not be taken so seriously, and everybody can have a great time, have a good time, and do the right thing.
How do you deal with criticism as a leader?
I take all criticism, no matter what it is, no matter if it's stupid, whether it's mean, harsh, great, amazing, all that kind of good stuff. I take it all, and then I process it myself, because all the information that you take in is at your disposal, so you do with it what you want. No matter what somebody says to you, if it's a bad thing, if somebody else thinks it's a bad thing, you do you use that information, you interpret that information yourself.
How do you think your skills you learned as a leader will help you once you graduate?
I think that my skills will have basically made me understand how life works, and that I understand how you just need to live life to the most and to the fullest, so you can just have a happy life and not care about anybody else or care what anybody else thinks. So you can just do whatever you want to do, make yourself happy.
Can you hit that whoa one more time for us? Thank you for letting us interview you.
Bet, bro.
Thank you for that, Nicholas. Congratulations on graduating, and I know you're going to do great in the future because FSU trained you well. Go Noles. With that, I wanted to talk about a character and one of my favorite TV shows that demonstrates excellent leadership. Just to kind of close and wrap up everything. If you don't know the show Glee, it's one of my favorite shows. I'm actually currently rewatching it for like the umpteenth time. It's about a Glee club, which a Glee club is kind of like a musical. It's a show choir club, and they're made out of like a bunch of misfits. No one really wanted to join it, and so the Glee club teacher one day heard a football player singing in the locker rooms. It's less weird than it sounds, still kind of weird, but less weird, and tricks him into joining the Glee club. And this football player's name is Finn Hudson. He later on becomes kind of the leader of the Glee club. They all look to him for advice and for that leadership. And the reason I want to talk about him is because I feel that his growth throughout this show was one of the major ones. And you kind of see his leadership style change throughout it because that's what he's seen as. First, he's kind of just seen as a leader by the Glee Club just because they're all kind of losers and they want to become cooler, not knowing that like Glee Club is one of the things that are making him uncool. And then throughout the series, when they start winning and they start going to
championships and nationals, and being seen as like an actual musical choir threat. You could see his role change more towards he's kind of like the teacher's secondhand man. If they ever need a leader that's not the teacher, they go straight to him because he looks for the best possible outcome. I think his characteristics of being someone that people can listen to, someone that people feel comfortable talking with, someone that wants to change and do better for the community. At the very beginning, he was scared to get out of his comfort zone, scared to be a part of Glee, even tell people that he was a member of the group because he didn't want that wrecking his popularity. But then closer to the end of his time of the show, you could see him becoming an adult. You could see him loving Glee with everything that he has because, again, singing is one of his passions. And you could see him watching out for each individual in that club, even the ones that don't necessarily like him that much. He's been a beacon of hope for all of them. For example, there was a newcomer in the club that was very talented, and he noticed that Finn wasn't really giving him the light of day in terms of he wasn't letting him talk during the meetings and everything like that, and he confronted him, and Finn was honest, which I don't think the beginning of the series his character would be so honest, but to say that, hey man, I was jealous of you because I know you're a threat, but you're gonna kill it, and honestly, let's work on that, let's build up those skills. And he wasn't the perfect leader, he knows that. He wasn't the perfect member of Glee, he knows that. And he worked really hard to make sure that he was catching up with his team where his weaknesses were. For example, he's terrible dancer, but he worked his butt off throughout the series to try to continue practicing his dancing skills so he wouldn't let his team down. And so he's one of the people that when I think of leadership and I think of like TV shows, I like to talk about him because you could see his change. He is the ideal servant leadership. He takes into what he thinks is best for the group, which usually is what's best for the group. The group usually follows along with anything because, again, they trust him. And he makes the best decisions. He's not afraid to say that he messed up. He's not afraid to look weak anymore. Sadly, the person playing him did pass away, so his character did not get to end the show kind of how they planned it. But even throughout the rest of the series, you could see how much his character impacted the rest of the characters through his leadership. And his leadership philosophy kind of contrasts with mine, just because, especially him at the beginning, I don't necessarily care if I'm doing something because it's cool or not. I'm more concerned with how what needs to be getting done. And so in a way, I want to say I would be more of a support in that case. When it comes, I'm more of a supportive leadership, where at the very beginning he was kind of just like I'm leading a team, I'm gonna do my thing, y'all need to do your thing, and we'll be fine. But he does become more of a servant leader, which is again why I like it so much. And with that, we are done talking about leadership, and this is the end of my journey project, but not the end of this YouTube channel. I'm so excited to start training camp tomorrow. I'm so excited to see y'all in 2 weeks. Yeah, around 2 weeks. If you are, for Lord knows what reason, watching this, I'm on the evens team, which means I will be working Monday through Thursday. I will have students, I will have families, I'll be a floater, whatever they give me for the week. I can't wait to see y'all. I'm very excited. Thank you for watching me go through this process. hopefully I'll be able to record more and put it on this YouTube channel. If you feel comfortable, y'all could star in this YouTube channel. If you have any questions about the orientation leader process, I would say watch these videos, and I would also say talk to me, talk to the people in charge of new student family programs. I'll happily give you any of that information. Thank you to all my advisors and my team members and my TL. You have all been there for me from the very beginning, and this experience would be completely different without y'all, and I've had a magical one so far, and I hope the summer goes just as well. And with that, Roaring Rapids, I bid you goodbye until I see you in person. Very exciting. And go Knowles.